Our final product is a game similar to Space Invaders. It covers some core aspects such as player movement, non-player movement, displaying images, collision detection and deletion. My little narrative is Elon trying to fire his rockets off through Bezos's lawsuits and bounce safely back on his reusable platform out at sea. You can't see the mouse cursor, the XY indicator, however, I have to keep it moving left and right on the x-axis to keep the game going. And if we miss, the game restarts. On the right hand side of the screen is Pygame's main template for their game loop. We're going to augment this to make our own game. Search Pygame in your favourite browser, click on pygame.org. Under the burger menu, as you've split your screen to make it responsive, click on Docs. Under Tutorials, find Making Game Tutorial. I highly suggest having a read through this part. After that, click on number 2 and you'll find the template. Quick overview of the game. Build it. So we'll create a string doc. We've done our little test. We'll input some more files or libraries from Python. In particular, we'll input all the locals. That's the all symbol. Particular part of Pygame. We'll be tying in delta time, which is just the CPU clock. We'll be calling that already created and putting it in a variable. So delta time is just the frames tied into the clock speed of your computer. So we'll be assigning 30 frames, just to keep it simple. A caption, create whatever you like inside the string quotes. Times X by Y, we'll be creating the screen size. Background color. An image for the base. I put the C, which was just Joanna's eye, stretched out. We'll be creating the platform. You can choose the color, go in between 0 and 256, play around with the RGB. There's another surface for the platform as we're creating it from scratch. So you can also assign an X and Y value to create your rectangle platform. And then we'll put the box around it so it's not just a drawing anymore. So we can use it for action. And there it all is there. You can assign to a variable so we can use it later. And some cool programming concepts we'll cover. I'll run through all this as we create it. However, just a quick overview. So for loops are in all languages, and especially nested for loops are very helpful. For loops within for loops, which just means, for example, if we assign y 5 and this loop runs 5 times, and every single time it'll run 10 times within the 5 times. So we did this to create the Bezos faces. So for example, this loop runs and then it runs 10 times before it runs again for index 2. So then 2 would be 20 times, 3 30, 4 40, 5 50, and that's how we get 50 Bezos faces. Another loop that's in all languages is a Sentinel Loop, also known as a while loop. Sentinel means it has to be broken to carry on the code. Otherwise it'll just keep on running. So the main game loop is a Sentinel Loop, and it's only broken when we quit out. That's the Sentinel. And we'll also just be writing plenty of if and if else statements. These and then we'll be updating the screen. I think the template used flip, which just means use the double buffer technique. So one side of the screen is getting drawn while we can't see it, and then the next frame we can see it to try and reduce latency. The update is more convenient as we can update particular things within parameters. However, we're not going to go that far. I'm trying to keep this under an hour so you can create a game under an hour. And therefore, we won't be covering functions. Apart from the main function everything is in. Actually, this isn't even in a main, but we'll put it inside a main. And then we'll call the main. So we've defined the function, we've put all this code inside, we'll get there, and then we call it to run the code. To get started, we can paste in the code from the documentation. It's better to write it out to get a feel of the IntelliSense. For example, if it pops up, and then we can select what we need, and then press tab, and so forth. Usually programmers find what they're looking for within the library and then assign it a variable. However, sometimes it's easier to assign the variable, the assignment operator, and then the IntelliSense picks up sort of what you're after and recommends it at the top. Anyway, so we've pasted in our template from the documentation. The only thing I did different was I printed the event just to see which events, such as keyboard and mouse presses and what's going on, but that was just out of curiosity. Within the loop, just another little test. So we just kind of augmented it a little bit. So to begin with, when we run the template code from the documentation, click on it. Oh, we have an error, line 10. We got a brace. Go there. We want to change it so we get a black screen before we start. That's the goal. Excuse me. We can delete this now. A little test. Or open a new file if you would like to keep the instructions if you wrote that out. And you can either paste in the original documentation template or write out my one from scratch, or add in what I've changed. So let's begin. I've added in a couple more libraries. We're just going to go back and forth and compare the code. That remains the same. I've added in, oh sorry, the main function's already there. Make sure all your code is now indented within the main function, and then when you call it dedent with Shift Tab, highlight the code you'd like and press Shift Tab. Okay, we've initialized pygame. We did earlier. We've added in the clock speed, so we have control of that. That was not in the original. The main surface, everything's a surface in pygame when we're drawing. This will be, I've made it 800 by 600. You can make it however you like. However, we are going to do some math. So if you want to do the same mathematics, keep it 800 on the X and 600 on the Y. Create your own label. That's the same. All of this we don't really need. We could just write that, as pygame has a built-in method called color. So we could just do that rather than writing it all out by hand, figuratively. Okay, these are all just comments of what we're going to be doing. So just write out the title so you know where to place the code later. Okay. Let's just do a quick run test, make sure everything works. Yep, it works the same. We've just called black inside our loop, the variable we created. So we assigned the built-in call into a variable to shorten the code, and then we've called it rather than rewriting it all out. So while true, all of this is going to run until we break it, and because it's a Sentinel Loop, we need to make sure we break it so we don't break our computer by filling the memory and soft locking. So we've put it in the system, that's why we imported the system for a backup exit. We also have the pygame exit method, and we also have the constant quit. So it's quite a safe program. Sorry to be jarring. Let me quit out. So how I quit out, I was going to explain how to get more information. However, when you see a little link to the doc from Kite, it quits out, instead of opening up a new tab, it quits out of the whole program. So that's unfortunate way of learning more information. Anyway, to break the loop, press Control-Shift exit, Control-Shift escape, and we can exit the task that way if the code does soft lock from not being able to break. We have backup, system exit, pygame's quit method, and the built-in quit constant from the locals we imported, so we should be good. The last thing was we could use flip. I believe that was in the original template, which just uses a double buffer technique, drawing the code while we're not looking, and then flips it back. to save on latency as the program flows through the frames. But we'll just stick to update. Cool. Right, have fun writing that out, and then we'll begin writing out the code together. Lastly, just really quick, I noticed that in Python 3, as the template's quite old now, so for Mac and Linux users, just add the little 3 so your system is a secure mount or file structure. Windows doesn't use this path. Cool.